to the Darkstream, Voxday, voxday.net, and unauthorized.tv. Been a few days. It's been a little crazy around here, but everything's good, and we are rolling live. The gray man gives a thumbs up. You know, I may have to think about moving those books on the bottom shelf, those Cambridge medieval histories. They seem to want to think they're a green screen or something. But audio is good, visual's good, and that is cool. So I'll just comment briefly on the world stuff. We're rapidly coming to a critical nexus. It's pretty obvious because North Korea has made it obvious to all and sundry that, yes, Virginia, Russia has allies too. And you know, Russia has been able to withstand pretty much the full might and money of the NATO alliance, which is the US, Europe, Japan, a few other non-entities. But they haven't even really had to rely on China or North Korea. And the thing that's really astonishing about North Korea is that they have phenomenal manufacturing capabilities. They have something like 100 weapons factories, I think 160, and they only use 80 of them now. But they were down to using 80, but now they're gearing up and they're using 100 because they're producing literally millions of ammunition shells for Russia. And of course, you know, the cretins at the US State Department are trying to wave their finger and say, well, if you do that, we'll do something. You know, never mind that they're already funding an entire war against Russia. You know, I mean, they don't seem to understand that once you go to war, whether you're openly calling it war or not, but you know, once you become a participant in a martial process, you don't have any leverage with the other side anymore. You can't promise them favors. You can't promise them. You can't promise them anything. You know, you can threaten, but the threats have to be credible and meaningful. And the only thing that the U.S. can threaten them with is we're going to go in directly and send our own troops to die in the Ukrainian trenches, which is not going to happen because nobody's going to go. You know, they can very cleverly, in a way that nobody notices, change out their advertising, you know, so that suddenly they'll try to get a bunch of patriotic whites to go and die for them again. But I think that ship has pretty much sailed. You know, the only people that will still join up are the kind of people that are essentially normies who just want a career in the army. They don't want to fight anybody. Most of the people that want to fight are much more likely to want to fight their own government right now, whether it's in France, whether it's in Germany, whether it's in the USA. Everybody understands that, I mean, I should say everyone who is of military age has at least an inkling of the fact that, you know, maybe our government are not the good guys. And, you know, it's a little bit difficult for them to push the same kind of propaganda that they could when they were, you know, going after Saddam Hussein, a bad guy. Gotta stop him. Dana Carvey doing George Bush the Elder was always funny. Anyhow, it's very clear that the clown worlders know that their days are numbered. And what they're trying to do, depending on which conspiracy theorists you pay attention to and that sort of thing, um, you know, they tried to substitute Biden out by having the most decrepit of the 5 Bidens we've seen so far come out and just about literally defecate on himself on in public on TV. Um, the whole point, obviously, was to provide an excuse to get rid of him. And apparently, there's a new Hillary Clinton that they're trying to both pass off as Hillary Clinton and suggest as a substitution for Biden. That's not going to happen. Um, anyhow, if Trump wins, and the reason Trump would win is because the good guys are winning. You know, otherwise, it doesn't matter what the reality is. They'll just cheat with the numbers and report that the corpse of the 5th Joe Biden pulled out a stunning victory because all of the Hispanics voted for him or something ridiculous like that. But if it doesn't happen, if there is no cheating, that's a pretty good indication that we're going to see some positive changes. I understand you don't need to remind me of all of the ludicrous things that Trump has said and done recently. But again, as with anything that Trump does, don't take it too seriously. Anything that Trump says, don't take it too seriously. Just wait and see. I don't think that Trump is that much more in charge than Biden is. I mean, we know there's at least 3 Trumps out there. So, all the stuff that we see in public, all the stuff that we see with the politics and so forth, it's basically all a show. And the real action is happening behind the scenes. Those are the people who are negotiating on the basis of what's going on the macro level, et cetera, et cetera. No, I don't know who they are. No, I don't have any connection with these people that I'm aware of. But although I have been given it to understand that some of them pay attention to my analyses just because I am independent and I'm not owned by anybody, and so I can just recognize what I recognize and say what I think, which is presumably useful to people who have people lying to them all the time. I don't know. I guess it makes sense, in some way. Trump uses his body doubles for rallies. Too dangerous to be there in person. Yeah, it's pretty obvious. You know, um, you know, I I laughed when I saw that famous mugshot. The one where he looks like a real tough guy and that sort of thing. I took one look at him. I was like, that's not Trump. Why did he just use? If he wanted to do something that looked, roguishly good looking, why didn't he use, I don't know, Brad Pitt or something? It obviously wasn't him. But, you know, and people, it's kind of funny too, because people say, well, maybe there's problems in their marriage because Melania's not traveling and not appearing with Trump, and it's like because she knows it's not her husband. I mean, she probably doesn't want to try to act and fake loving support for somebody that she doesn't even know. That'd be my guess. Anyhow, we'll go into more detail on this as to why I am so confident that Clown World has already lost World War III. But we'll it's not over yet, but it's over, if you know what I mean. Um, we'll talk about that in more detail later. But essentially, what it all comes down to is industrial capacity, and the industrial capacity imbalance is significantly greater than the Allies had over the Axis in World War II. So, this is the chicken coming home to roost. Um, Swedish Trash Panda says the recent Trump debate was the most hilarious event imaginable. Laughed hard as the MSM ended up having to throw Biden over the bus. Under the bus is actually the phrase. Um, well, yes and no. Um, Obviously, there were a lot of people in the mainstream media who didn't know that was the plan. But um, the whole point of having Biden go out there and look like the you know, decrepit, dementia-addled, you know, old man that he is, was to make it clear to all the Biden supporters and Democrats who aren't in the know that they can't keep they can't keep running them. They can't run them. They can't win. So um, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I mean, back I think back about 10, 12 years ago, the plan was to build up this. I think his name's Eric Garcetti. Um, and he was the first uh, Hispanic Jewish mayor, and he was in California. And I think the plan was for him to become governor of California, um, but Gavin Newsom and that particular faction won out. Garcetti never ended up going anywhere that I'm aware of politically, and so Newsom should be, he's the one who I actually kind of half expected to be nominated for vice president instead of Kamala Harris. Um, but the I think that the Harvey Weinstein scandal completely uh, knocked him out. I mean, not only did he look really sketchy, um, he's got this beautiful second wife, um, but you know, you can't really be up there, have her up there on stage when everyone going, she fucked Harvey Weinstein. Are you are you kidding me? Um, and so, I think that and also California is such a complete train wreck. It's not like the old days where Reagan or Nixon or whoever could come out of basically anybody who was a California governor was automatically considered a potential candidate for the White House because California was the bellwether state. As California went, so went the nation. Blah blah blah. Well, that may still be true, but it's not a direction that anybody else anywhere in the country wants to go anymore. So, who wrote on your Sigma T? I don't understand the question. Um, that you're going to have to be more clear. I don't know what that means. So there's been some interesting developments. We've done very little on Archaven and Arctunes until recently. Number of reasons for that. Um, Volunteers burn out. The lead dev had to move on, um, and I've been focused on getting the bindery going and all that sort of thing. Well, we're getting closer on the bindery. We're down to like 2 final issues before we can go fully operational. And both Razorfist and John Delarose have fully gotten on board with Archaven. We're going to be, publishing the retail versions of all their stuff. And there's also been some interesting things happening in the industry. beyond the continuing decline of um, Marvel, DC, and IDW. And so what's been interesting, and this is both, I think, in one way it's a good opportunity for Archaven. In another way, it's just further evidence of the complete convergence and complete destruction of the industry in a more comprehensive manner than we'd imagined. And the reason is, the two big alternatives to Marvel and DC and the traditional comics industry have been, number one, Japanese manga, and number two, webtoons, the Korean digital vertical comics. Both are very big. Both are actually bigger now than traditional comics, with the exception of the comics movies and so forth. But just in the last 2 weeks, what we've seen happen is BlackRock, which is, essentially Clown World corporate center, has, number one, purchased a significant interest in the biggest Japanese manga publisher, or one of the biggest ones. So what that means is that convergence is now coming to manga. Number two, Webtoons is going public. They're doing an IPO. They're taking $318 million in investment. They're being valued at $2.2 billion. And BlackRock has already said that they will buy a substantial amount of the stock that's made available. Now check this out. I think this is kind of a very interesting comparison. So this is, let's see here. So actually, now I got to do a window. See if I can figure that out. Find more sources. Scene widgets. I'm trying to figure out. They keep changing this stuff, and I'm never quite sure where to find it. Oh, here we go. Desktop capture. So if we can find this window here. It's not working. All right. Well, here, I'll get it this way. So this is one web page, and hang on. Okay, there we go. Let's go to this web page first. This is one of the most popular, see if they show it. Yeah, so this is one of the most popular, oh, I see, it's got like a transparency thing. This is one of the most popular webtoons on Webtoons. It's called Vampire Family. And this is literally the artwork. Now, there's nothing wrong with it per se. It's obviously done so that it can be drawn very, very quickly. A lot of the Webtoon stuff is done very quickly, very cheaply, because they want to crank out a massive quantity of content. And so this is what is being valued at $2 billion. Now, so that's Vampire Family. Now let's have a look at the very recent Midnight Wars Night Streets, written by the legend Chuck Dixon in the Midnight world that I created. And I think you'll be able to see not only are the graphics higher res, the lettering better, but the graphics don't even compare. Our graphics are vastly better, ridiculously better. And so I think it's interesting that, you've got this massive thing that's just complete crap. And here you've got really good storytelling, really good art, good tech, et cetera, et cetera. Now, of course, we don't want to sell to BlackRock. We have no interest in that, you know. But, this is why it's important to support Archaven, because it's the only thing that's left. By the way, Silenciosa, there's a new episode of Silenciosa today. And the Princess of the Blood is learning how to shoot back in the day. But again, look at the artwork. Look at the artwork compared to that Webtoons crap that you saw. It's really rather remarkable. And so, if you have any interest in this level of cultural war, it'd be a good idea to get behind it and support it, because now that BlackRock already owns Marvel through Disney, DC is spiraling the toilet. IDW's already filed for bankruptcy. Dark Horse is essentially being propped up by Netflix, and manga is now under assault, and Webtoons is now being taken over. So, and that's it. Other than that, you've got Eric July doing his thing. You've got some of the Comicsgate independents, Ethan Van Sciver doing their thing, but that's it. And so, I'd encourage you, if you've got friends who are into this kind of stuff, tell them about Arctunes, tell them about Archaven, and also subscribe to the Archaven Substack. That's the other thing I should show you. We've just added a new Archaven comic Substack to try to help introduce people to Arctunes, because Arctunes has 5,500 episodes on it. It's a little bit confusing. So let's see here. See if that works. There we go. Okay. So this is our new Archaven Comics Substack. And every day we put up a list of whatever the new episodes are. So like that's the Silenciosa episode that we just showed you. This is the Sidewinders. It's a text episode. It's basically a book, a novel by Chuck Dixon. Every day you can read, a section of about 1,000 words or so. That did not work, did it? Okay. And then, and we're going to keep adding more. John De La Rose is going to, he's taken over his Saga Nano Templar that have been running once a week. It's going to run every day. And then the other thing that we're doing at the Substack now is every day we're doing a little serialization of Alt Hero. Just like 3 or 4 frames every day, so you can read through it. This is the very beginning of Alt Hero on Arctunes. It's actually issue number 7, but it's an independent story, so there's no order that needs to be read in. The lad for the Volume 1 Omnibus at NDM Express, which is our new store that we're very happy to have going. So anyhow, the point is that Archaven is it. DC's not coming back. Marvel's not coming back. Manga's not going to be an alternative for long. Webtoon sucks, and is going to suck worse once the SJWs take control of it. The Koreans have no idea what's going to hit them, none. And so, I think what you're going to see is more and more of the independents realizing that they need to be working with us, and we're going to be putting all the stuff. When people come to work with Archaven, we put this stuff up on ArcTunes. Because we think it's important. My stuff's up there. You can see the Midnight's War, Alt Hero Q. Those are both up there. Black Warrant, which is Chuck Dixon's response to the Punisher, set in the Alt Hero universe, loosely. And all that stuff is coming out, and we're going to need your support. We're going to need everybody's support. We only got into this because you guys wanted us to. You may recall. Did Lacey write the last Hypergamos? Indeed she did, Dan. Good eye. Hypergamos is easily our most popular comic. We're going to be doing the crowdfund for that. Probably start at middle of July or so. And I write most of them, but as time has gone on, Lacey's, she used to send me an email saying, I have an idea, do you think it'd be okay? And then she'd run a little bit of it by me, and then run more of it by me, and that sort of thing. Now she's more confident in her writing abilities, which are quite good. And so I think it's great because it allows us to get a more accurate female perspective. I've been told by women that I write female characters well for a guy, but there's no question that it's better to go directly to the horse's mouth, as it were. But yeah, Hypergamos is be running again on Friday. Essentially, Archaven's going to be getting a lot more active, and so if you got away from the habit of checking it out every day, a good way to do it is just subscribe to the Substack. When you visit the Substack, you can see what's up. Eventually, we're going to be adding subscriptions so that you can directly support the ArcTunes that you want to support, and then get email notifications when that particular comic actually runs. So that's something that people have been asking for. Also, only subscribers are going to be able to comment on the site, the specific comic, etc., etc. So, but yeah, it's the good thing is that it's technically sound, needs more features, but it works. And that's the most important thing, because that's the one thing you can't fix. If you don't have a strong base, if you don't have basic infrastructure, it doesn't work. You can't get around that. So, have a question. Have you selected the July-August Castalia Library book? Yes, I'll be sending out the emails tomorrow, but it is A Sea of Skulls. And also the history book is the Cambridge History of Byzantium, or the Cambridge History of the Byzantine Empire, Volume 2. So, so those of you who have Throne of Bones, I think will be pleased to get A Sea of Skulls. I know there's actually some people who are even waiting to read it till the leather comes out. So even Sinfest might be a decent source for a comic. Started off as feminist, but went off script over time. Yeah, I mean, at some point, once we're ready, we'll start making pitches to people. right now we're more concerned about just getting everything working properly. And but yeah, if there are comics that you think should be on there, contact the person, ask them if they've heard of Arctoons. Tell them tell them they might want to consider getting on there. It's the combination of Arctoons with the print stuff and NDM Express has turned out to be quite effective. And when Ghost of the Badlands starts to show up there, when the color edition is ready and that sort of thing, I think that's going to be a big significant step forward. So one thing at a time. Vermock Bear says no Owen today. I am not Owen's keeper. I don't know. I'm not up on his streaming schedule, and certainly I don't. He doesn't inform me when he's going to stream or not. So Owen does what Owen wants to do, as he should. It is interesting, though. I mean, if you think that stuff like Archaven and whatever doesn't matter, I mean, they're paying attention to this stuff. I mean, in the industry, I haven't seen it, but apparently, there's a character who is me in one of Ethan Van Sciver's new comics. There's definitely one who is me in a Marvel comic, and then there's even on The Boys, the television show, they are there's a character named Firecracker who is the leader of the alt soup movement, as in alt hero. She's rebel. They're just afraid. They're just afraid of putting a Confederate outfit on her. But they did show that she had. They didn't dare do that, but they did show that she had a Confederate keychain. But she had the jean shorts, she had the gloves, she had the boots. It was kind of funny because somebody told me that they're like, you got to see this episode because, you won't believe what an imitation of Rebel it is. So I was like, okay, and I was like, oh, wow, they weren't kidding. It wasn't just the red hair. So, are the serializations on Substack basically excerpts from the book? Well, they're actually the entire books. It's just that they're serialized daily. So if you go every day, you'll see the entirety of the episode over I don't know. It's probably one episode a week, something like that. But of course, you can click on the link and go directly to Arctoons and read the whole thing. You can click on the other link and buy the omnibus hardcover. And okay, Weremock Bear, you're risking getting yourself banned. Don't ever fucking tell me to take it easy, Vox. I actually listened to you. Just the free audiobook, I'm not sure what that. I mean, we have free audiobooks on unauthorized, but they're not on Arctoons. But the idea is to provide, as with unauthorized, to provide a considerable quantity of content. More than any one person can reasonably be expected to consume. And so that's why we've set Arctoons up to maximize the opportunity for independent comic creators or novelists to put stuff up there. Signed up for history but missed the History of Byzantium Book 1. Any additional copies for sale? Well, we haven't produced them yet, but yes, we are going to produce enough copies so that you know, history's growing by maybe 20 new subscribers per book. So we'll probably do 50 extra books uh, of both one and two. We'll keep them as you know, produce enough of the same number of both because people generally want a set. Um, and uh, you'll be able to buy one. And of course, with your subscribers discount, you will get it for the same price as if you'd subscribe to it. Um, we're working towards getting that signature society stuff rolling. Um, we'll get there. We had just to keep you to keep you um, you know aware of what's really going on. We've had some pretty disappointing setbacks with the machines. Of the four machines that we brought in, um, one worked. You know, and I mean it's the risk that you take. You know, I mean if you're dropping 10K on machines instead of paying 200,000 for a new one, there's a risk. Um, Unfortunately, that risk didn't pay off for the time being. One of the machines, the more important machine, we probably will be able to eventually get going, but it's going to take too long. So we're going on to Plan C, and I should have more solid information about how quickly that's going to come together and work by the end of the week. So, I mean, it's incredibly frustrating, but it's working. I'm not going to reach out to Sinfest, Swedish Trash Panda. That's something that the fans have to do. Okay, I'm way too busy to be running around trying to talk to people that I don't know concerning things I don't know. I mean, uh, this whole thing has been a community effort from the very beginning. I mean, you guys know I wasn't a comics guy at all. Now, I understand the importance of it. I understand why a lot of you wanted me to take the lead in this. But, the community, if the community doesn't participate, it doesn't work. Look, for example, at Infogalactic. Now, there's obviously some issues with Infogalactic that hopefully one of these days um, the thing will get opened up. I mean, the fundamental problem that we've had with both Infogalactic and with Arctoons, but ironically not Social Galactic or unauthorized, is that um, the relevant devs were too security conscious, and not without reason. They needed to be security conscious. We know that people would have come in to try to create problems, but we should have handled it differently than we did because it was just locked down too hard. People couldn't get on to create stuff on Infogalactic. They couldn't get on there to do pages and that sort of thing. Now, of course, Infogalactic had another problem, which is um, one thing that we didn't know and that we couldn't have known is that pretty much everybody who is right of center was far more interested in crying about Wikipedia than in doing anything about it. I mean, I actually contacted a couple people, not very many, maybe 5 to 10, and all of them were people who had Wikipedia pages about themselves and who had very publicly complained about having their own about problems on their Wikipedia page that they could not do anything about. And I said, here's Infogalactic. Here you can, as the subject, you can actually do your own version of the page, and you can directly address any of these falsehoods or libels and slanders that you're complaining about. And not one single person availed themselves of that. Not one. Now, Infogalactic, despite its myriad of flaws, it still works. It's still a good alternative. There are some people who edit it, and there are some, if you can compare certain pages, and you can see that you can see a glimmer of what it could be. But the reality is, if the community doesn't use it, it dies. If the community doesn't support it, it dies. The only reason Infogalactic is still around is because there's just enough support to keep it going, and because it's such a old, simple technology, it just pretty much keeps chugging along. But the reality is that unfortunately, people on the right generally do not have the stamina that people on the left do. The same guy, in fact, the same three guys who have been camping on the Wikipedia page about me and who will react within seconds to anyone saying anything positive that they can possibly find an excuse to eradicate. They've been sitting there camping on it actively, in addition to all the other pages that they monitor or create or whatever. They've been doing this for what, 15 years, maybe more. We're very, very happy if we have a good volunteer who sticks around for a year. I mean, I don't know. Maybe for some reason maybe because all of us actually work for a living and we're accustomed to getting paid for what we do, that the concept of volunteer work never occurs to anyone. Or maybe it's because people prefer to put their time in at the church or something, which it's fine. I mean, I'm not. This is not a complaint. This is just a simple observation of reality over time. I mean, it's kind of like when I tell the gammas, look, the point is not whether I like you or not. The point is it true or not? It doesn't matter why somebody makes a true observation from the point of if the observation is true or not. Ironic Keyboard says work and families. That's part of it, but it's not all of it. For whatever reason, most people on the right do not have the same desire to build that the people on the left have to destroy. I mean, think about it. To this day, I don't get paid for my blog. There are, 25,000 blog posts? I don't get paid to post at Sigma Game. I don't get paid to post this. Well, actually, no, I don't get paid to post any of the stuff on the Castalia Library stuff. I do those things because I think they're important. I think that they lead to somewhere important. I think they have important things to do. But there's not a whole lot of other people who apparently feel that way. I mean, almost all of the people on the right who are anybody, um, Owen and Razorfist are exceptions to the rule. John Delarose is an exception to it. Most of the people on Unauthorized are actually more interested in the mission than they are in attempting to try to make an additional or a better living from it. I mean, obviously, I was not making, I never bothered to get paid for writing my WorldNet Daily column either. I did get paid, and paid pretty well, for my game columns and my technology columns that I wrote for first the St. Paul Pioneer Press and then Chronicle Features. And back when it was running in like 13 different newspapers around the country, I mean, that was pretty nice. But it was never what I did for work per se. So so the point is that, and here's where I do get a little bit frustrated, is that I tell people all the time, do something, like, and then someone will say, well, I don't have any money. I'm like, I'm not asking you to give anybody any money. Go on Amazon every day and write one review. Go through and write one review of a book written by an author whose work you value. And unfortunately, most, I'll give you an example. Razorfist has thousands of people who have supported his Ghost of the Badlands Kickstarter. And somebody look this up. Somebody look up how many Amazon reviews there are for Ghost of the Badlands Razorfist on Amazon. I'm willing to bet it's less than 20. And I haven't looked, just to be clear. I'm just saying, it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if the number of reviews is less than 20, despite the fact that there are, at least 5,000 people that are fans of his, that supported him, bought his book, etc., etc. And for those who don't have any money, well, they'll be able to read it on ArcTunes fairly soon. Quiet Thoughts Bear says, 26. I'm wrong. There's 26 reviews. It's still a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of the people that are familiar with it who could legitimately, be significantly helping out him with the A9 algorithm. Quiet Thoughts Bear says, when you're passionate about something, making money is just a bonus. Well, that's my point, is the left clearly has the big edge when it comes to passion. When it comes to culture war stuff, when it comes to political, ideological stuff. Why that is, I don't know. Maybe it's because they don't have real lives. Maybe that's all they have. But it has to change. I mean, it is a little bit ridiculous when you think about it, that the leader of or one of the leaders, or a better way to put it, of the non-converged comics thing isn't a comics guy at all. He's somebody who got drafted by you guys. I mean, why can't, where are all the people? Where are all the independents? And we've got this infrastructure now that they can utilize, but they'd rather try to be the king of their own thing, which they will never be. You know, it's too difficult. Um, you know, it's going to be interesting to see how long Eric July and Ethan Van Sciver attempt to be doing entirely their own thing, because it's just not, if you don't start with the infrastructure, it doesn't matter how much success you have. Eventually the thing is going to fall apart. You know, Milo had the #1 selling book on Amazon, the #1 selling book in the USA, but they didn't get the infrastructure thing right. You know, and that's normal. I mean, that's what happens to everybody who's successful with a one-off or a two-off, because it's not going to continue that way. You know, your first big hit is sooner or later going to be followed by a non-hit. And if you haven't set the infrastructure up properly, then you'll be caught out and undermined. So anyhow, that's all I've got for tonight. We'll, if you subscribe to Castalia Library History, the new books will be announced. Also, I have a nice little bonus for all of you. We promised a while ago that we would get ebooks together for all of those. And we are, I think we've got something like 15 ebooks that have been produced. And if you are a subscriber to the library or to History or Libraria, you'll be able to download them for free with your discount code. Otherwise, I think we'll sell the whole download for like $20 for those who want to buy it. So anyhow, hang in there, stay strong, and if you haven't subscribed to the Archaven Substack, I hope you'll consider doing so, and we'll look forward to seeing you at the next Darkstream Unbox Day. And this is the Darkstream. You at the next Darkstream Unbox Day. And this is